All right, folks. I think we have a quorum finally. I'm excited about this. This is the first Veterans Town Hall that we've done like this, and so I'm really grateful to my friend Delegate Taylor, my friend Senator Joe Morrissey, and my other friend Mike Cherry, also a delegate, Mike Cherry, for helping co-host and put this on. Are there any Navy veterans here? All right. There's a few of you. Happy birthday to the Navy. Today is the 247th birthday of the USA Navy, and we're very proud of your service. I would not have said that 20 years ago because I'm a West Point graduate, and that's not the sort of thing West Point graduates say. And then the Navy saved my life in Iraq, so here we are. Happy birthday to the Navy. I'm really glad you're here. I'm Delegate Gade, the Commissioner of the Department of Veterans Services for Virginia. And on behalf of the Governor, I just want to say thank you for your service. And for those of you who have sacrificed, thank you for your sacrifice. I deeply appreciate it. I've already introduced my friends, Senator Joe Morrissey, Delegate Taylor, Delegate Mike Cherry. All of them represent portions of the area around us right now, the Tri-Cities, Chesterfield, Dinwiddie, and surrounding areas. About 690,000 veterans live in Virginia, and of course, many are concentrated in Northern Virginia and Tidewater, but there are an awful lot of veterans right here locally. And so, these elected officers or elected officials are here to serve you, and we're thrilled to have them here with us. Also here tonight are quite a lot of my team. My benefits folks, raise your hand if you're benefits. There we go. I've got our benefits table. Education folks. Education, great. Virginia Veterans and Family Support. There we got a couple of folks there from DVFS. Anybody else from Department of Veterans Services that I've missed? Any other pieces of DVS? Okay. We are going to be able to answer all kinds of questions if you have questions related to the specific areas here. Most of these staff members are either veterans themselves or they've been serving veterans quite a long time, and so they're going to have the ability to answer your specific questions pretty well. And for those of you who are not here in person, we have a Facebook live stream going on, and you can submit your questions on Facebook Messenger, and my team will be able to pull those off, and we can ask those questions virtually if you're out there. And we'll respond to as many of those questions as we can over the next hour and a half or so. And if we don't get to your questions or concerns this evening, what we're going to do is follow up with you. So you can just submit those questions, and we will make sure that every single question is answered with as much specificity as possible. But the mission of the Department of Veterans Services, in essence, is to connect Virginia's veterans to all the supports they have earned through their service, whether it's state-level benefits, whether it's federal benefits, whether it's services provided by nonprofits. This agency exists to serve Virginia's veterans in all of their needs. And all of those needs really are coming together here tonight. I'm sure there's quite a lot of questions about the specific services we offer. The charge that the governor gave me when he asked me to lead the Department of Veterans Services is to do everything possible to make Virginia the best place for veterans to live, to work, and to thrive. During his campaign, you may remember, he used to say that he would want to make Virginia the best place for people to live, work, and raise a family, and he turned to me and he said, I wanted to make it the best place for veterans to live, work, and raise a family. And so we are doing everything we can to make sure that happens. And the nice thing about this event, and one of the things that makes me very happy here, is that, and I'm sorry that they're sitting apart, I guess that's an accident of chair geography, but what's really nice here is that this department, unlike a lot of departments in Virginia government, is not one that is partisan. In no way, shape, or form is this a partisan office. And that's because both Democrats and Republicans support veterans and their families. And so it's really emblematic of that we have a Democratic state senator here and two Republican, you're going to kick me, weren't you? Republican delegates. And I think that's just an indication that across the enterprise, across the political enterprise in Virginia, you have the support of all of those who are elected to serve you, and that is very exciting for me. So, with no further ado, I would like to just go ahead and get started. And the way we're going to start here, what I think we're going to do here is I'm going to ask our elected officials to just get up and talk for a few minutes. Don't bloviate, don't go on too long, but talk for a few minutes about the ways that they're supporting veterans and the bills and so forth that they've gotten passed. And then I'm going to turn to some of my teammates to introduce very briefly. I'm going to have my benefits team lead and my VVFS team lead get up here and talk very briefly about what they do. And then we're just open the floor to questions. And this is going to be a discussion type format, and no question is off limits. So with no further ado, Senator.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You know, one of the first things that Dan said, and Daniel, I want to say this in front of all the folks here, you are absolutely correct when you talk about, as Commissioner of DVS, that it's nonpartisan. From the first time you became Commissioner, you were walking the hallways, going into every senator and delegate's office, talking about how you wanted to work with whether independents, Democrats, Republicans alike, and you've done just that, so it's been a pleasure to work with you. I also want to say, I can't help every day but be aware of the partisan discord that goes on in Washington, D.C. So I can say this without fear of contradiction. Similarly, it's been a pleasure working with my two Republican colleagues in the House of Delegates to get veteran legislation passed. And there's an old expression that victory has 1,000 fathers defeat an orphan. And when it comes to getting veterans bills passed, I have worked with both of my colleagues to the right of me to get those things done for veterans. But Daniel gave us some specific marching orders. Share with the audience some of your bills that have gotten passed. I'll do that. We'll answer questions. But know when I say this, even though I say I was the chief patron of the bill or the patron of the bill, I don't get it passed unless I go down the hallway to my Republican colleagues and say, listen, this is a great bill, and I think almost universally they join me. One of the bills that I'm very proud of is House Bill 1128. That was the bill that we came through the House, we championed it in the Senate to allow $40,000 in income that military veterans receive to not be taxed by the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's $10,000 a year for the next 4 years, up to $40,000. And we worked together to get that bill passed. In 2021, I patroned a bill that established a military spouse liaison position. Are there any spouses of military veterans here? There's a few. Then you know what I'm talking about. This established within the Department of Veterans Services to conduct outreach and advocacy for the spouses of military veterans. And it can be a wide range of things. A spouse is coming in and she needs to get a DPOR license or a license for something that she had in a sister state. She needs it here in Virginia. That liaison helps them get that done, and I'm proud to have co-patroned that bill. We also, in 2020, I co-patroned a bill along with my Republican friend in the Senate, Bryce Reeves, to create veteran specialty court dockets. And they're referred to as the Veterans Treatment Court Programs. We have specialty dockets in Virginia. You know, everybody knows about circuit courts of record and general district dockets, juvenile dockets. We have drug courts, we have mental health courts, but we created a court, a docket, for veterans. And that is for those situations where the circumstance is unique to the veterans that have served the Commonwealth of our country. And that bill, I'm proud to say, was signed by the governor as well. There was a bill that we are still fighting, but we're getting closer and closer. And with my help from my friends to my right, we'll get that done. And it's a bill to allow one personal motor vehicle of a veteran with a service-connected disability to have tax relief for that automobile in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, I was the chief patron of this in the Senate, and we got it through most of the subcommittees, but it was left in Finance and Appropriations. And gentlemen and lady, with your help, we will get that bill passed in the 2023 session so that Virginia is like other sister states where we give a tax exemption to at least one automobile in the household. Two other quick bills. I championed a bill again in 2020 that established the Veteran Student Transition Grant Fund. A mouthful, but what it did is it allocated, the Commonwealth would allocate funds to public and private institutions, private as well, that would then grant scholarships to those veterans that were transitioning from military personnel to civilian life and help them pursue their education. And that bill was signed by the governor. And one of the last ones that didn't get a lot of fanfare, I liked it because not only was it my bill, Daniel, but I saw what was happening. Veterans and others would be taking a course at Virginia Commonwealth University, and in the middle of taking that chemistry course, anybody ever take organic chemistry? Think of the most difficult course that you took in college, and then you get deployed halfway through your semester. You've completed 60-70% of that course, and you have to go overseas. If you've ever taken a course like organic chemistry, it is something that you do not want to do a second time. So this bill simply said, if you were taking a course, if you had gone through 50% of that course and you were deployed overseas to serve your country, you would get full credit for that course as opposed to what they were doing before. Here's your money back. Start over again when you come back and take that course at the beginning. Like I said, not a lot of fanfare, but believe me when I say this, those veterans and those service folk that went abroad and came back, it really helped them. So with that said, those are some of the highlights of the bills that I championed in the state Senate, and I want to make sure that I'm very clear with that, about what I'm about to say. I don't get that work done unless I can work across the aisle with my folks, Republican senators in the Senate, as well as my colleagues in the House. So to both of you, thank you for all the help you've given me, and I will be here a while to answer any questions. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Delegate Taylor. It's my honor to represent the 63rd House of Delegates District, and that includes Dinwiddie, the city of Petersburg, a portion of Prince George and Chesterfield counties. I am so grateful to each of you out here who have served. We are a stronger community for having you. My father worked at Fort Lee years ago, and so I know how many veterans retire from Fort Lee, and I know that's just Army, but what a strong veteran community we have here in the Tri-Cities area. And so last year, I would agree with Senator Morrissey that tax relief was probably the most substantial veterans bill that we supported last year, and it was my pleasure to do so. This coming session, I am working on a bill that was brought to me by the request of a constituent, a dear lady whose husband was a veteran and passed away from complications of Agent Orange. And she said, I love to go to state parks, and I would love that benefit to be extended to me, because I can't get that now that my husband is deceased. So we're going to be bringing back, it's a short bill, but I think it'll be meaningful to a lot of people and a lot of families. And so I am absolutely thrilled to be here tonight, and I am here to serve you, so please let me know how I can help.
Good evening, I am Delegate Cherry. I represent the 66th House District, which is Colonial Heights and Chesterfield County. Like Colonel Gade, I am a veteran of the United States Air Force. So I served alongside many of you potentially. I served as a load master on 141s and C-17s. So you airborne guys, it was my job to close the door when you leave. And so I loved a wonderful career. In terms of legislation, being a freshman, we don't have obviously the years of great successes that our senator has. We did sponsor a bill this past year that would have allowed service-connected disability members to access the state parks for free. That did not make it through this year, but we're looking at that again. Next year, we're looking at the potential for a piece of legislation. Right now, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, if you are 100% service-connected, permanent disabled, your house and one vehicle are exempt from property taxes. We're trying to pass a bill that would allow localities to rate match. So if you're at 50%, they would be able to give you a 50% break on your taxes on your primary residence and on one vehicle. So that's what we're doing to try to support. I'll echo what these two said. The most substantive things we did, and I was happy to patron and co-patron that, was the tax relief for veteran retirements. As Colonel Gade said, we've got Commissioner, Colonel. When you're in the military and they're a colonel, they get the colonel tag, whether they're now a commissioner and really important in Richmond or not. And so he will always be the colonel to me. I've enjoyed serving alongside of him. We campaigned together, we worked together to try to get him elected to Congress and send someone up there with some common sense. Unfortunately, that's not what happened in that district, but we are so grateful to have him and working with Veterans Services here. And so I'm grateful to have this opportunity tonight to come out and just share a few thoughts. Town Hall is about listening. And so our challenge to you is we need to hear from you. We need to hear what your challenges are. We need to know what services you need and how do we help and connect you with those services. I was telling this story earlier this evening. There's a program here in Virginia that if you're 90% or better disabled, your kids get to go to school for free in Virginia. And I didn't know about that until I started working on this board. And so the colonel gave us that information. I immediately started texting one of my Marine buddies and going, hey, do you know about this? And he said, I did not. And I was able to get him connected and get him going. And now his kids getting paid for to go to school because he's a 100% disabled Marine. So we are grateful to have this opportunity to come and to hear from you tonight. And with that, Colonel.
So I think, that's great. Okay, so I think what we're going to do, I'm going to do a little audible here. I don't think I'm going to have my team come up and actually talk, if that's all right with you guys. But I do want you to come up. And the senior people in my team just come up and find a seat on the edge of the stage or whatever. And then Claudia, if you could be our run around mic person, that'd be awesome. And if you have any questions at all of your elected officials, if you have any questions at all related to Department of Veterans Services activities, if you have any questions related to what Big VA is doing these days, and Big VA is doing quite a lot, we would love to have those questions. We'll field them all. And what I would ask you to do is stand, if able, and make sure you have the microphone in your hand so that everybody can hear you. And then we'll just get started. Sir.
My name is Rick Maddox. I live here in Petersburg, 25-year Air Force veteran. I'm the first sergeant that you came to see when you didn't close that door correctly. First of all, Delegate Taylor and Senator Morrissey, you probably don't remember this at all, but both of you came to my door, you, Senator Morrissey, in the rain, and one of the questions that I had for you was about the extension of military retirement pay. So thank you. You kept your promise. And I brought my wife along to put you in office, Mr. Morrissey, and she drug me to get you, Ms. Taylor, and because we're a split household. It's respect. She's also an Ohio State Buckeye fan, which I can't remember before, but other than that, roll tide. But I do have some questions. I hear someone from McGuire was here, because now for new people getting new appointments for new veterans in the system, we need them to be informed out, and they're not taking appointments at the different specialty clinics, not specialty clinics, primary care clinics. Specialty clinics are a little different. And that's causing some issues with some confusion, but it also comes down to the nurse practitioners at McGuire are not subject to state requirements. Their nurse practitioners can issue medications, they can do a lot of other things. And on the state side, their requirement under the state is they have to be under tutelage of a physician for several number of years. A few years ago, they petitioned the state legislature on one of the committees. In fact, I attended. And you talking about a turf war between what the doctors wanted and what the nurses wanted. No nurse practitioner wanted to step straight out and start issuing this. They understand that you have to have some tutelage. However, state law, not like our sister states, requires a higher requirement of tutelage under that doctor than West Virginia. And I can assure you, West Virginia does not offer less care than the state of Virginia, because many of our veterans come from West Virginia to Tim McGuire because it's so huge. It has all your specialty clinics there. And as a two-time organ recipient, who I had to go to DCU because liver transplants are not done at McGuire, the care of McGuire is excellent. Now, will you have some individual problems there? Perhaps. But I would not be alive without them or the nurse practitioners there. So if you could take a look at that law and just take the turf war out of it. And many of these veterans live in rural areas. Many of these veterans have families that have to be seen, and doctors are moving out of these rural areas. Hospitals are closing out of these rural areas. So these nurse practitioners, they're going to be the lifeline there. And many of these veterans who did not retire, they're just veterans, but they have injuries and illnesses associated with their service. They deserve that. And that's just one of the things. But tell whoever at McGuire that if it wasn't for Coach Young Gillis in the transplant team, I would not be alive today, and she will forever have my gratitude.
We're certainly glad you're alive, sir. Thank you for that. When you're asking questions, let's try to keep them like kind of punchy and ready to go. But I think we do have a question there that Delegate Cherry would like to answer.
So coming back to your question about the nurse practitioners, I serve on the Health Welfare Institutions Subcommittee in the House, and we actually did have a bill this past year that expanded the scope for nurse practitioners as well as lowered some of the requirements for them. So we hear you, we're working on that. We are absolutely diligently working towards getting them to the field as quickly as possible, because you're right, they're incredible at what they do, and encumbering them with too much regulation and too much time to get them to that point is unconscionable. And so we did that this past year and are continuing to work on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next question.
Actually, I have several questions, but I'm going to start with one. Actually, top of the line questions, but I'll go with this one right here, okay? And this is going to be addressed to everyone in attendance in the panel today. As a 100% disabled vet, my question to you all is, y'all have a catchy slogan. I believe the gentleman that represents DVS knows it best, where it states that Virginia values its veterans. However, what I would like to know is, what mechanisms do you have in place that actually quantitate how many vets are employed in the state of Virginia? Because what I've experienced as a 100% disabled vet is the exact opposite of what you're saying, of what your slogan is. I've experienced a lot of discrimination as far as being hired, being selected even for interviews, and I think it's shameful, to be honest with you. And on the other hand, what I'm saying is, if you don't have a mechanism in place, or you can't explain to me how you're holding this whole list of agencies that you have that are supposed to be V3 qualified, then it means nothing without the stats to go behind it. So I'm addressing that to everyone. And if there isn't a mechanism in place, what is being done to make it that way, to hold some of these companies accountable? Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. That's a perfect question. I would love to answer it. So the veteran unemployment rate in Virginia is about 2.7%, related to civilian unemployment rate being about 3.7%. Veterans, in theory, are doing better than others. But that doesn't actually matter. And here's why it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to you because you don't have a job that you're proud of. You don't have a job that you like. And so your unemployment rate, if that's the case, is 100%, and that's not okay. And so what we're doing in Department of Veterans Services is we are aggressively going after recruiting more and more companies to go through our V3 training to become Virginia Values Veterans companies. And if you happen, and I know you own a company, and I hope you're V3 certified, to get as many companies trained on how to find and hire veterans, and also why to do so. We're aggressively expanding that portfolio of companies. When I came into this job, there were about 1,500. Now there are about 2,300. So we've expanded dramatically over the last about 10 months. And those companies would be some of those companies would be thrilled to meet you. And so what I want you to do is make sure you don't leave without giving your contact information to one of my team, and we'll hand you off to our claws. It lays eggs. It's the weirdest animal in the world, right? This agency is a really weird animal too, because we have 3 cemeteries, we have 4 nursing homes, we've got all these people that do benefits, we've got all these people who do mental health and other kind of wraparound services. But I'll say this at risk of getting tarred and feathered and run out of town here by my colleagues in other parts of the agency. I think the most important thing we can do as Virginia or as the agency is help veterans find jobs. That's the number one thing we can do. Benefits don't matter compared to jobs. Nothing else matters compared to jobs. And the reason why is because a job is a very powerfully protective thing against mental health declines, against suicide risk, against homelessness, against all those other things. So I'm focused like a laser on the job issue, and I hope that that's in part an answer for you. But we're going to get you specific answers after we sit down with you, take a look at your resume, and I want to help you. So let's make sure we do that. Next question. Sir, yeah, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. In addition to what Daniel just said about the main component to find veterans jobs, I think the second thing, a close follow-up, is to help them keep the most of as much disposable income in their pocket. In 2020, I co-patroned a bill that would have provided an additional $930 for veterans in the armed forces or the National Guard who had been rated with a 100% disability. Now that bill, while it was left in finance, it had a great deal of support. And Commissioner, we are going to work to revive that in 2023 so that that additional exemption will allow veterans to have more money that they can dispose of as they see fit.
Welcome to the Republican Party, Senator. All right, all jokes aside, next question.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carl Matthews.
Where are you, Carl?
Right
Oh, there, Carl. Oh, sorry.
Stand.
No, you're good. Thanks, Carl.
Okay. Well, listen, I was invited to play in the Richard Bland Foundation golf tournament a few weeks ago, and Jill Coleman with the Cameron Foundation, she wanted boy, girl. I could not come up with a girl to play. So I'm extending an invitation to start a ladies group. Because I figure if we get the ladies to play, then we can get young kids to come out. Because I'm an advocate for golf and our talented youth. We need to get these kids in that golf arena because it will save a lot of these kids' lives. And it's going to change a lot of these kids' lives. So anyway, my number is 804-731-1655. So I'm trying to do some golf clinics, some free golf clinics for ladies. I'm looking to start one next Monday on the 17th at Dogwood Trace Golf Course. If you're interested, please give me a call.
Is this for veterans or just
Veterans,
lady
well, I'm extending to veterans because I figured this was a wonderful opportunity to extend the invitation to them because we don't have any ladies playing golf.
Well, stand up so they can see you, and then they'll come up and find you after the town hall if they want to sign up for golf lessons.
Carl,
I think Brandy wants to go golf.
I started the first golf team at Peabody High School in 1962-63, won the championship and everything. And I, was a golf professional over in Hawaii for 20 years and 9 months, and got a lot of history in this game. So feel free to give me a call, ladies.
Thank you.
Taylor
Thank you
does
for that.
play golf, so you
Thank you for that. Other questions related to DVS functions?
Good evening, I'm Chad Myers. Just like to bounce off what the other gentleman said about employment. My situation is a little different, no service-related disabilities, but I was in a very technical field in the Navy, involved a lot of nuclear physics and engineering, and my post-military job prospects for the past 20 years, I do not feel at all it has led up to the level of training I had. Even out of frustration, I went ahead and got myself an engineering degree, and I'm still having issues. So the employment issue is very big, I think, with veterans. And to say that we have a lower unemployment rate than the rest of society, that might be a little hidden. For example, because usually the unemployment rate is based on unemployment benefit claims, and a lot of us, especially if we're not disabled, we just feel awkward going and claiming, benefits that we don't feel that we earn. My GI Bill, I feel like I earned that, so I use that to work towards my engineering degree. But unemployment benefits, I feel like, well, I'm healthy, I'm able to work, so I should be working. But yeah, and I've done a lot of temp stuff and a lot of stuff that's not really in my field. So if we could continue to work on an employment issue, like you said, it's definitely a quality of life issue.
Of course.
And it affects your positivity, your negativity outlook on life. So.
How many people in here feel like you are not in an employment situation that you like? A few? Okay, great. So, my gentleman back there. So, at my benefits table back there, can you guys start a separate notebook or a piece of paper or something? And folks, if you are interested in talking about employment stuff, what I'm gonna have you do is give us your contact information, and then we can put some of my employment folks that we can help for sure. Mike.
I just wanted to come back to one of the things you said about your training and credentials and qualifications you had while you were in. Delegate Coiner, who is the district over beside us, she's done a great job of championing legislation that helps military people when they get out to have those qualifications and certifications recognized in Virginia. And so if you do have those qualifications and certifications, we may be able to help with the legislative side to help you, other veterans that are getting out. I don't know how long, your qualifications and certifications matter for you, but it's something that if you get out with a distinct set of skills, many times we can sponsor legislation that will allow your qualifications to be recognized so that you can work in the field that you're trained to work in, and we as the government aren't getting in your way of recognizing the skills that you have.
I think
So that's a great
traditionally that
way
has
to
been a
work.
problem.
So,
For
say that again?
I think traditionally that has been a problem for separating veterans.
Yep.
So,
And when we know about it, we can, again, change the law so that you can get the recognition that you deserve for the qualification you have.
He's got one, but I think there's others. Sir, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is John, and I'm a Vietnam War vet. My question is, do you have any contractors that can help me with this HISA grant? Are you familiar with the HISA grant?
No.
I can help. I can help.
Okay, all right. I
I
see
did it
you.
for myself.
All right.
And I got the money, the funds, and got the renovation, everything is done. So if I walk the process, brother, I can help you walk the process. I promise.
All right. I'll talk to you.
what it is, man?
What is
That's where you
it?
get the, I'm sorry, sir. That's where you,
Home improvement and structural alteration benefit. Home improvement and structural alteration benefit.
Hey, I just want to give another shout out to Senator Morrissey. Of course, he's been in government a little while now, and he was a co-patron of the 2010 bill, the Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in Virginia. So Vietnam veterans, raise your hand. Thank you for your service. And Senator, thank you for patroning that bill. Great, yeah. It sounds like we got a nice connection here, and that's exactly what this is all about, is making connections. So I saw some other hands. Raise them high so my man here can help you.
Yes, so, I'm sorry, Commissioner. So right quick, here in benefits, that's something we can actually help with. Walk you through the process and help you with that. Okay? So just come talk to me or Valerie after, we can definitely help you, okay?
Oh.
Post 1703.
Oh, yeah.
American Legion.
Prince George. The question I have, and it's probably affecting everybody, this is about all these big stores in the area, Walmart, Target, and I know everybody in here goes to Walmart or to Target. I don't know if you can help with this. Why is it like Walmart or Target don't give a military discount? But in every military community, there's a super Walmart, big Target. Now they may give us some on Target or do it on Veterans Day or something like that, but Walmart, they don't give a military discount. They don't have military rewards programs. And you can go into the small stores, different stores, and they give you better discounts. But anytime you go to Walmart or Target, I'm sure that's asked. No. But anytime you go to Walmart, there's a lot of us in there spending money. Can y'all help with that?
That's an interesting point, and we could certainly inquire at Walmart, who's a V3 employer, by the way. They just got certified as a V3 employer, and I have a special connection to them because they're chief of government affairs, and my wife were cheerleaders together in high school or something in Atlanta years ago. So I'll call her and find out, and I bet they're going to give me a reason that has to do with dollars and cents, but I don't know. Sir.
Yeah, good evening to everyone. Yeah, that gentleman that just spoke, it kind of struck a nerve because I used to go to Golden Corral, and they were giving military discount and senior discount. So one particular day, my wife and my daughter and I went there, and I said, military? And she said, we don't give discounts to military. I said, how about seniors? She said, yeah, it's the seniors. So I said, well, nobody appreciate the veteran no more. I bet you if Russia come over here, you'll appreciate the veteran. She ain't never done nothing but live and got old. She ain't done nothing but the country. But I went to Walmart to get a battery over on 9 Mile Road, and I asked the guy, y'all get military discount? He said, no, but they do in Colonial Heights. I said, why they give it at Colonial Heights, don't give it here? And he said, because they close to the base. And then the next time I went to Walmart in Colonial Heights, I asked the girl about military discount in Colonial Heights, and she said they don't do it, you know. So I told her, I said, nobody appreciate the veterans no more. I bet you if Russia come over here, he'll appreciate the veterans.
Exactly right, sir. Thank you for your service. Yes.
Hello, everyone. That's my segue in. I was just going to segue. So, my name is Francine Williams, and I provide long-term residential home care to aging and elderly veterans. Demographics that we're forgetting about. I didn't say homeless, I didn't say kids, I didn't say spouses, I said aging and elderly veterans. So I'm talking about the old folks. I'm talking about 75, 80, some are a lot older than that because they're not dying at 100 anymore. But this is the demographics that we're not taking care of, and we have to. I can say it because I'm doing it. I have 2 houses because he said be short. I'm trying my best, but I got to give you this information because. So I got that. That's a problem I've shared already because the state is taking too long to license me, and they have my paperwork. But I can't put no veterans in my house until I'm state licensed because we're doing everything right and we're legal because we're dealing with the federal government. But I need to share it with the gentleman right here to talk about the aging and elderly. You're right. We have not put our hands on them. I'm 60. I ain't that old. I got about 30 more good years up in me. So I don't even know what that process is going to look like then because these generations of children have not positioned themselves to take care of the elderly now. So who's going to do that? Geriatrics is contracted. The VA is not taking care of old people. We know that they got all these places suiting up just to get the money. We got to stop that because it ain't right. Because I see I'm boots on the ground and I'm in the foxhole with these immigrants.
Did you bring some of your cards?
I brought cards.
Awesome.
Everything.
So if you need her card, you know she's right here. She's doing good work for veterans, and so thank you for your comments.
I'm sorry.
More questions, please.
Please come take a visit. Yeah. Come
Good evening. My name is Tricia Newsom. I'm the quartermaster for Post 622, and thanks to Senator Morrissey, I recall his office a lot. He's been a great supporter. Thank you so much, sir. I want to piggyback on the aging veterans. I want to know how can we get information to the aging veterans who are no longer able to go social media. Some of them have wives who are taking care of them and they are aging. I'm wondering, is it possible for DVS or someone in the veterans area to at least visit the post? I see a lot of post hats. At least visit the post, and then we can get our aging veterans out so they can disseminate the information. We have veteran services officers at most posts. Most of them either work or age themselves. So there's a lot of great things that you all are doing, but it's not getting down to the aging population, those 60, 70, 80. So if there's something you all can do to help us, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
That's right. So I would like to briefly talk about that. There's a couple of things that we do that are relevant to your question. Okay, so we have in Virginia, we have four veterans care centers. The Sitter and Barfoot one right here right up there in Richmond is open. There's open spaces, and honestly, I mean, everybody in here knows you do not want to be in a nursing home. Let's be honest. You want to age in place. You want to be in a facility with your friends. If you have to be in a facility, you want to be with your wife or family. You do not want to be in a nursing home. But if you're in a nursing home, you want to be in one of our veterans care centers, and they're open. And depending on your disability rating and so forth, they're either low or no cost to the veteran and to spouses, and then also Gold Star parents who had a child killed in action are allowed to be residents in our care centers too. So care centers are a huge part of what we do. But then the other piece, and you talked about it just now, the other thing that we're doing that the agency hasn't really been able to do before, for both budgetary and technical reasons, is quite a lot of veteran outreach. So if you're for example, if you're a 90 or 100% disabled veteran, about 2 months ago, you should have gotten a letter from me in the mail talking about the Virginia Military Survivors and Dependents Education Program that Delegate Cherry talked a second ago. You should have gotten that. If you didn't, that's, not great. But we are, the problem we struggle with as an agency, the main problem, I'd say our number one problem, is that big VA, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, doesn't tell us who our veterans are or where they are or how to contact them. They just don't give us the information. And it's the craziest thing that you would think that they would just give us that information so we could do that outreach to find those veterans and tell them about their services. But we found a workaround, and I'm in the process right now of purchasing specific veteran data from a data vendor, and then I'm going to be able to do targeted outreach for specific demographics. So, for elderly veterans, you'll get a piece of mail from us about care centers and cemeteries and benefits. And for veterans who are maybe in the childbearing age and have childbearing range kind of, and you have children coming up and getting ready to get educated, you're going to get an education thing. And for every veteran is going to get something about benefits and things that are universal to veterans. So we're going to be able to do some outreach, and so you can expect that. But for those elderly veterans, you can't really get them on Facebook, as you said. You can't really get them by text message because they're not big texters. What you can do is put a piece of mail in their mailbox, and everybody's happy to get mail, some kinds of mail, not bills. And so we're gonna be sending that stuff out, and that's what I can do. And then actually, this is a perfect segue since you brought up the term. Captain Maxwell, do you want to talk about CVEBs and what you're doing to try to engage veterans? Is this a good time for that?
Sure.
Yeah, come on up.
This wasn't planned, by the way. He likes to go with this. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Good evening, everybody, and thanks again for giving me an opportunity to talk a little bit about what we're doing here, or starting here locally to cover the community support from about Greater Richmond down to the Petersburg, Hopewell.
Could you speak into
Tri-
the mic, please?
I can.
Thank
Is this a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay, I tried to use my big boy voice, but clearly that wasn't working. So first of all, what we're trying to do is establish a community-based organization that falls under the umbrella of what Commissioner Gade was talking about, Big VA. So the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs has a program called the Community Veteran Engagement Boards, and these are designed to build community support around veterans issues. As Commissioner Gade said, coming into starting this session, Big VA is putting a lot of effort into veterans. The Virginia Department of Veterans Services is wholly and completely committed to veterans, and I was witnessed it day in and day out for a couple of years, and so there's a lot of folks at the federal and state level who very much care about veterans, and there are also community members and companies and organizations who want to do right by veterans and serve you. The challenge that we see at the local level is many of those organizations are to build on that and to create sort of a synergy so that we can share information. And this was something that a couple of veterans and I started pulling together earlier this year, and our first in-person meeting is going to be next week on October 19th, which I think is Wednesday night. So all are welcome. We love to have especially organizations, companies that are interested in serving veterans and how to serve veterans and how to communicate with them. One of our goals is advocacy and it's awareness, so we want to be able to provide good information. We want to help with transition, all those different things. There are a lot of people out there who want to do good things for veterans, and connecting veterans with those organizations and companies, and then connecting these organizations together so that they can build on it. You'd be surprised. One is working one angle, another's working a separate angle, and all of a sudden they come together, and then more people know about them. So again, this is what we're trying to do.
How can they participate? How can they get in touch?
So to participate, again, at the Petersburg Freedom Support Center, a couple of blocks down the road here, we're going to have a meet and greet starting at 5:30 on Wednesday night, the 19th, and then we'll have the general meeting at 6:15, and that'll last for about an hour and a half or so. And then if you want more information, I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards and send you the invite so that you can join the meeting. So, but again, I'm very grateful for giving me a chance to talk about this, and look forward to and hopefully seeing as many of you as I can. Thanks.
Yeah, we're really thrilled by the efforts that these folks that are standing up these community veteran engagement boards are doing, because, ma'am, to your point about contacting veterans, the best way to contact a veteran is for their buddy to say, hey, this is the service I got, this, do you need anything, all of that. And so that's really the focus of the CVEV's efforts, and I think that's super positive. So more questions, please.
Yeah, right here.
Sir.
I've got a question about other organizations, like the American Legions, the VFWs, and other organizations. How do we work together from a state perspective? How do we work together in getting the word out? We've got a lot of structure in place already that I don't think we're fully maximizing our efforts in a lot of areas. With the VSOs working together, education piece, housing piece. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to that VFWs and the American Legions could give a big hand there. But I see a lot of stovepiping, and I may be wrong in that, but I see a lot of people, want to stay in their lane and don't want to get out of their lane. But if we're all for the veterans, and we should be, because we're all in that business, I think we ought to have a better relationship. So I'd like to hear your perspective on that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my staff gets pretty tired of me talking about this, but I really view, the agency all told, including, care center, nurse practitioners and things, the whole agency is 1,300 people, okay? And there are about 700,000, Big VA says about 690,000 veterans in Virginia right now. And so if you just look at the math doesn't work, right? This agency can't possibly contact and provide services and do all of that. And so how do you do it? How do we do it? And the analogy that I always give is, we got to think of ourselves as a special forces team, right? Because what a special forces team does is jumps out of one of Mike Cherry's perfectly good airplanes and then gets on the ground, comes together, makes some friends, and all of a sudden now they're punching with the weight of the 500 friends they recruited instead of just the 12 guys with rifles who jumped out of the plane a couple days ago. And so what we ought to be doing at our highest and best, what we ought to be doing is providing resources, providing technical assistance, making relationships with the existing groups that are already doing the kind of work. And so I've been actively reaching out to VFW and DAV and American Legion, and we actually have a concept that we're working on right now about, there's a volunteer veteran service officers who do claims for those organizations. Sometimes their training is out of date. Sometimes there's other issues. Maybe they're just elderly and and they don't want to work on that stuff full time. And so what we can do is we can provide training, we can provide technical assistance. We can even hire some of those people as part-time workers for DVS so that when they submit a claim, it goes through our claims improvement process and then gets submitted electronically to Big VA. So I'm committed to that. And if you have other ideas about how DVS can better support your mission or your mission or your mission or anybody's mission in here, I'm happy to hear those ideas and to put them into place. The answer to your question will be yes. The answer to whatever good partnership idea you have will be yes. And I recently actually hired a person who is the director of research, partnerships, and outreach, so that he can be the one to shepherd all those partnerships through the formalization process. So I'm committed to the partnerships. I want to hear your ideas about how we can better support you, either direct support or technical assistance or whatever it is. I want to support you. And I get awfully discouraged when I see, food fights between, I don't know, whatever, DAV and VFW are fighting about something. It's awfully discouraging to me because we should all be pulling in the same direction, serving our veterans. And, I made the point earlier that this is obviously a bipartisan gathering, and that's awesome. I think all these organizations should put down their swords, stop fighting with each other, and serve veterans better. And I'm committed to helping smooth that process along as Commissioner, as best I can, and I'm eager to hear your ideas. More questions?
Yes, I wanted to piggyback. I know it's a little time has elapsed with the gentleman as we were talking about employment. As you can tell, that's an issue kind of near and dear to my heart. And the term legislation was mentioned a few moments ago. But one of the things I found interesting is that basically, bipartisan or not, legislation or not, and I understand it takes a lot of work and effort to put these laws in place, but a law is only as good as its bite. So once again, it gets me back to that thing where what can you tell me that you're doing to make sure that these employers are enforcing this critical legislation? Because if they're not enforcing it, if you all are not on them to enforce the legislation, it's not going to happen. Case in point, I can recall in applying for a position, me and another candidate, of course I didn't get selected for the position. Felt kind of bad about it, but I later found out and discovered that alongside being close, this person was not a veteran, and I inquired with the employer as to what kind of veteran preference that supposedly was offered. This was a V3 certified company. And I was told by the hiring authority that basically that's at their discretion. That's the wrong answer. Now, my suggestion is that, of course, it probably is what under the bridge, but a person that calls themselves V3 certified and they give an answer to that, to not just me, to any veteran, they should no longer be V3 certified. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Well, folks, you know, we've been doing this for about an hour, and I think I see the questions kind of drying up. So what I'm going to ask is for our legislators to just kind of give some closing thoughts, and then I would encourage you. Actually, my teammates, stand up again, please. If you're associated with benefits, stand up, raise your hand, wave, jump up and down, something like that. Okay, so those folks are going to congregate over there. If you have any benefit-specific questions, please go see those folks. All the rest of my team is going to be circulating around. Education team, raise your hand. Okay, so if you are 90 or 100% disabled veteran and your spouse or children are paying for college, you're making a terrible mistake. And they can help you with that. That education team over there can help you with that, and they'll be happy to do so. I'm going to ask our legislators to give some closing thoughts, and then we're just going to circulate around, and you can talk to my team about whatever you need to talk about.
We have a B3 company over here.
Oh, good. Please, come on up. B3 certified, I'm going to mess it up. Is it Hanover County Sheriff's Office?
Richmond City Sheriff's
Dang, Richmond City. Okay. Don't arrest me. Richmond City Sheriff's Office would like to speak really quick.
And I am the Human Resources Representative at the Richmond City Sheriff's Office. So I'm proud to say that the Richmond City Sheriff's Office is a B3 employer. Okay, so with that being said, we have deputy sheriff positions that are open, and we also have civilian positions that are open as well for qualified veterans. Okay, so with that being said, if you are an employee of the Richmond City Sheriff's Office, we also offer veteran incentives like the post 9/11 GI Bill, where you can get paid while coming to work while using your post 9/11 GI Bill. We also have Educational Advantage program where we have partnerships with the universities, colleges in the Tri-City area. So if you're interested, okay, in employment, or if you know someone that is looking for employment, civilian or law enforcement, and we also have some goodies too, some promotional items. So please come to our table. I have my colleague with me. He is the recruitment manager at the Richmond City Sheriff's Office, Mr. Ricky Garland. You come on up as well. He's right here. So we have our cards that are available as well. And just please come see us. And that's it. Thank you for your service as well. And I'm also a veteran, active duty Army 22 years. Okay? All right, thank y'all.
But the number one thing is, if you know of anyone that needs jobs, they're out here. We're hiring. We have positions for you. We love you. We want you. So please come.
Last but not least, I'd like to also thank our sheriff. Our sheriff is Sheriff or Dr. Antoinette V. Irvin. She is the sheriff of the Richmond City Sheriff's Office. So I would like to thank her for giving us the opportunity to relay this message to you all. Okay? Take advantage of the opportunities, okay? All right, thanks.
First of all, I'm going to keep this brief and maybe set a pattern. I want to thank all the veterans out there for wearing the cloth of the country and serving both the Commonwealth of Virginia and our great United States. I'm very appreciative of it. I was counting the pieces of legislation that I've sponsored or championed since I came into the House. It's 19 pieces associated, 19 pieces of legislation for veterans. And it's not because I come up with these great ideas, it's because I go around and I knock on doors and people give me ideas, and then I talk to legislative services, I said, here's the idea, and the bill is passed. The gentleman that talked about Walmart, while the Commonwealth of Virginia cannot pass a law that says Walmart or Target should give military discount, here's what we can do. And I made a note. I'm always a note taker. There's a person who is a lobbyist just for Walmart I'm going to be calling her tomorrow, and I'm going to say an individual made a request that Walmart give military discount or military rewards program. If it turns out that you read that in the news that Walmart is going to do it, it's because that individual made that comment and I was able to talk to Walmart. And then, with regard to my friend that had the kidney transplant, I think you said that the nurse practitioners in the VA were not subjected to the same more stricter requirements of Virginia. Is that right? That is something that is definitely a matter of legislation, and I'm going to talk to our lobbyists with the nurses tomorrow as well. So thanks for sharing that with us. Good night.
Thank you again. I am so glad you're here. Thank you for your service. I'm new to the legislature, and it is incredibly helpful to me to sit here and listen to your experiences, your needs, your thoughts and ideas, because I have a wonderful LA, but this is just such a great forum to just listen to what the true issues really are. None of us can be experts in everything. I'm a small business owner, and so, you know, I'm just thrilled to be here and to listen tonight, so thank you very much.
I'll echo that. Thank you all for taking your time to come out this evening and to share your thoughts and concerns with us. We're better because you came, and we're better because you told us what issues you have, and you've given us the opportunity to try to help. That's what the government is supposed to do. But tonight you've given us that opportunity, and for that we humbly say thank you.
All right, that's it. Go talk to my team for whatever you need. They're here to help you.